Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. In today's episode, we are honored to welcome the inspiring Melissa Rohlfs to the show. Melissa is a wife, mom, and holistic health and life coach who has dedicated her life to helping others find balance, healing, and empowerment. Melissa will share her powerful journey of resilience, transformation, and self discovery, covering the pivotal moment that led her to take charge of her healing journey. How finding her voice has transformed the way she lives her life today, what thriving truly means to her, and how she embraces it in her daily life. How she stays grounded during the challenges now compared to before. The profound role family, friends, and mentors have played in her healing process. Melissa's story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the importance of community, self care, and finding your voice. I'm so excited for you to hear her insight and experiences, which are sure to resonate with so many of you. So, without further ado, let's step into the space of inspiration and empowerment together and welcome Melissa to Speak Up Queen.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Want me to go ahead and just share my story?
You can share your story.
Right. So I had no intentions of doing this or going into this, which is so funny, because I thought everything was fine and good and normal, and it wasn't. So I began hiding food in my room as a little girl, probably 8, and hiding cookies and just sugary snacks. And that really kind of became a coping mechanism in my life and how to handle overwhelm and feelings and things I didn't know how to handle. I think I ate to try to push them down. And so, as you can imagine, that carried throughout life, into marriage, into motherhood. And after I got married and we had 2 little ones, I was like, something needs to change. This isn't quite working. So started going to a life coach who I thought for me, it was just I was just a tired mom and I just needed to find my groove. And it was way more than that. There was some childhood trauma that had never been dealt with. So we addressed that. I started meeting with the naturopath, learned about the impact of supplementation and food on mood and overall health. I think for me, so long food had only been connected with weight, but to really learn that there's so much more to food than that just really kind of set me on fire and led me to go to school and to become a holistic health coach and do what I do now. And I help other women and teen girls who struggle with that food. They don't know how much to eat, or they don't know how to handle their stress without turning to food. And they're using it kind of as a coping mechanism as I did, or maybe they're dieting all the time, and really help them connect with their bodies and become self-aware and in tune with who they are and the way they're made. So that's a little bit of my journey. Dive in, ask anything you want.
How was finding your voice? How did it transformed your life when you started to deal with that childhood trauma? Did you eat less? Did you start healing and get a healthier relationship with food? Because sometimes there's a disconnection between that healthy relationship. Yeah, just tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, there was absolutely a connection because I think for me, I didn't feel like I had a voice and I didn't know how to share my voice. And I thought if I shared my voice, I would be perceived as being rude or disrespectful. And so I think I hid and kind of shrank quite a bit. But once I learned, like, okay, this is my voice, this is who I am, this is my body, this is the way that I'm made, and I learned to kind of connect with myself, then I stopped turning to food to kind of stuff and I stood in my power and was like able to share my voice and my thoughts and my perspectives. And it's been really freeing and empowering. And it's funny because that was I think food was the coping mechanism for me with that. That was probably the root, right? That food was kind of the go-to. So once I learned more about myself and what I really needed and what my voice was and how to stand in it, that's really where the freedom came. It wasn't because I like did a diet or changed what I was eating per se, but it was more about finding myself.
How do you show up and embrace every day with a challenge? Because if there is a nice snack and when you're healing, some things isn't fun anymore. You ate, you loved food, I loved smoking, I loved drinking. But
Yeah.
when I started that healing journey, those things were like, ugh, I don't want it anymore.
it doesn't give you the fix, right? Like I remember having a pan of brownies and I'm like, I'm gonna eat this to feel better. And I was like, I'm eating a brownie, I'm not feeling better. Well, maybe I need to have two brownies. And I ate two brownies, I didn't feel better. Finally, on the third brownie, I was like, okay, I feel like crap and this isn't working. Like it doesn't suffice anymore.
And I do feel like women who is going through that. I mean, if I am overwhelmed, I still go to the snack bar. I'm still going there. But I do, for me personally, I try to be mindful before I take that snack. I'm like, Marika, why are you eating that? Why do you want it? What is your body craving? Why are you feeling overwhelmed? Just go outside and feel the sun in your face. It's just, but it doesn't happen overnight. Can you tell these wonderful women who's listening? Because I think sometimes people think that it's an overnight success. It's happening overnight, and I love the way that you said it when your children was born. You started that. It is just when they put my son on my chest, I knew that I had to change some things. Um, but for maybe the single persons or single women on here, it is just making that decision that's gonna help you. When did you find that it was really time to do that? And how did you stay grounded when between if you can compare the past you and the now you, can you compare them with the healing when you did your healing when you found your life coach?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I'm in a totally different place now. And I think a lot of it is what you said about being aware and being mindful. And I think really there's power in the pause. I used to be really frantic and overwhelmed and didn't ever take time for anything. And now I'm like, I need to take time for this. And I think that replacing judgment with curiosity is powerful. You said that when you're like, what am I looking for? What is your body craving? I think that's really powerful. And I think too, like for me, I had to have a powerful why. And I think my kids were that powerful why. Like it wasn't, oh, I want to change the way I eat so I can look better or so I can go to an event. A lot of times we'll do that, right? Like we want to reach a certain, size or weight or whatever the case may be for some vacation or a wedding or something like that. And I think those things are really fleeting because those events are fine and those are nice goals to have, but they're not going to sustain you when things get hard. So I think for me, wanting to change my legacy for my family, that was powerful. And that was enough to keep me going when it got hard. And when the pan of brownies was right there calling my name and I'm like, they don't make me feel good anymore. Or I was going to the ice cream at night for the energy or to decompress or de-stress. But I think having that powerful why and something that's really going to motivate you when things get hard because it's not overnight, like you said. Like nothing that happened for me was overnight at all. It was a very long, intensive process. And so I think, we can shorten that for people, obviously, but it's not overnight. It's not a quick fix. And so I think that powerful why that motivates you and gives you that vision of why you're doing what you're doing is the most important thing.
And another thing is, it's not that easy. It's not always easy to say no to those things. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, yesterday, I know that I don't have a really healthy relationship with food, but that's some part of my healing journey that I still are busy healing or making time to focus on what I mean. But sometimes, because so many friends of mine is always on a diet. They always like they always try new things. And I think it's not a diet anymore. I don't think of anything anymore as a diet. I feel confident in my skin with my flaws. I don't feel like it, but like last night I overeat because I was feeling guilty for not I don't want to waste food. So then I was like, okay, I have to eat all of it. And I was feeling like, oh, I said to my husband, nah, I must stop thinking that I have to eat everything because as a child, we were told you have to eat up your food and finish your plate. And like I said, I am not perfect. I am not at all. I still have flaws and I still have um a lot of things that I can better myself. And that's something that I'm glad that you're on the score because It is, it's just showing that it is possible. It is possible to do those things. Yeah, it's just amazing. And it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. Like you said, preparing for a wedding. Oh my word. I've always tried to put that amount of stress on my body to try to have this perfect size. And now that I don't care, not that I say that I don't care what I put in my body, I lose weight. I lose weight because I'm not focused on if I want to eat that chocolate, I'm going to eat the chocolate. I'm not gonna buy myself 20 chocolate bars, but I am gonna eat it. And these women must just know that it is okay. We all break down sometimes. Healing is so bloody messy. It is like, it's not like a golden star or a golden spoon that I give you, and you are now, finally, you are healed and you can go move forward. Sometimes, and I want you to tell me this, but sometimes the biggest battle is the battle with ourselves behind doors when no one is watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then they can't judge you, right? There's no judgment, there's no shame. It's just you and yourself. But if you're like me, you're really good at the judgment and the shaming of yourself, and you don't really need other people to do it.
Mm. How was, now that you say that you are judge yourself, how did you change from judging yourself to loving yourself? What happened? What type of methods or practices that you do in your daily habits? Because habits is also a huge thing every day. So for the audience, just tell them something that you needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think replacing judgment with curiosity is powerful. And I think, kids are curious, right? Like if you are a parent, you know that kids ask why a million times, or when are we going to get there? Like they're always asking a question. And I think a lot of us were probably shut down as kids because we were annoying, or we were a pest, or we were bothersome, or we asked too many questions. And so we shut down that curious part of ourselves. But I think if we can reignite that and get curious and ask, what am I looking for? What do I need? Am I really hungry? And what answer those questions for ourselves rather than judging ourselves, that can be really powerful because sometimes we know we have a craving, but we think we need, the chocolate, but maybe we need more time alone, or maybe we need more time with people, or maybe we need more creativity, or maybe we need just some space and quiet. And so when you can get curious and figure out what you need, it's way easier to give yourself compassion and self-love because you acknowledge that you have needs and you're not just judging and shaming and shutting yourself down all of the time.
And it does have an impact on your family. I mean, when I'm overwhelmed, I normally would start screaming, or I still do. I'm not going to say that I don't do it. I'm still doing it. But
Yeah.
now I try to come to my safe space. This is my safe space. Just sit here thinking about things, or I just go outside and I water the plants because it's simple steps to do. It's not easy, difficult because some of these women might think, oh, it's going to be difficult to start because I always thought, oh my goodness, I don't know where to start. It's going to be a long route and I don't want to do that. But then there is that responsibility to take action to say, you know what? It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time for you to start showing up for yourself because the relationship with myself was unhealthy. And I was blocking all the relationship with my husband, with my son. I couldn't love or accept love before I didn't love myself. Um, yes. So what practices did you start doing to take time for yourself and for self-care? Um, and how important is it to show up as your authentic self?
I think it's super important, first of all, because you were created with a purpose. Like you have a plan and you have a mission. And if you don't show up as your authentic self, you're not fulfilling that. And you're not letting people get to know you and you're not able to help anybody with your story. Like we can all relate to what other people are going through because of our own journeys. And I think you've got to be willing to share that and show up as your authentic self in order to do that. So I think it's super important to answer that question. But as far as what I do for self-care and how I do that, I mean, I think it's acknowledging that I have needs and not feeling guilty over meeting those needs. I mean, if your child needed something, you're not going to make them feel bad for having a need. So don't do that to yourself. So for me, that looks like getting up in the morning before my family, having some quiet time. I read, I journal, I pray, I drink my coffee, and I enjoy some time to myself. No shame in that, right? Like we have needs. It's okay. I think too, I realized that when one thing that overwhelms me is when I'm scheduled and things are back to back to back. So giving myself margin in my calendar is another way I take care of myself. I exercise, 5 to 6 times a week. That is a form of self-care for me. I make sure to see friends so we can have connection. I think that's a form of self-care. The way that I eat is a form of self-care. I try to eat really nourishing foods and I don't deprive myself. That's also a form of self-care. And I think just the way that you talk to yourself is also a form of self-care.
Wow. Sometimes I feel, and you can let me know because that's also a type of numbing yourself. Exercise is very good for you. But when does exercise become unhealthy when you're trying to numb feelings? Because we can do, I can't do, I don't go to the gym, but I started walking to work. But some of my friends are excessively exercising because they're trying to numb those feelings. Um, so we all have addictions. Let me say it's like that. We all have addictions. Like coffee is my addiction. I'm proud to say that I'm a coffee addict. Um, hi. But we all have addictions, and that's okay. But we must remember that we don't take one addiction or unhealthy addiction and trying to become healthy, but that later becomes an unhealthy addiction again. Because healing is like you have to do the whole thing. It's not just, I mean, you can tell, you can rely to that because is it rely? Sorry, my Afrikaans brain this time of day is not
Okay.
so. Um, yeah, it's just, and I would hope that women know out there that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just what happened to you.
Absolutely. And I think part of that is why are we doing it? Like with the exercise, like why are we exercising? What are we looking for? There's always a why behind a why. And I think once we can get to that, it's like if I'm doing this to care for myself because it gives me energy, it makes me feel amazing, that's wonderful. But like you said, if you're doing it to kind of numb or to maybe avoid some feelings or some things that need to be addressed, that's a really good time to get curious and say, okay, what am I avoiding or what do I need to work through that I'm using exercise to fill instead?
And I think if you are in tune with your body, you feel that gut feeling for Marika, or what are you doing? Why are you feeling this way? And I love the way that you said about self-care is in your busy schedule because I'm doing this in these back-to-back meetings, and I said to my husband, I need to change my schedule. Actually, my schedule is open next to me because I need to change it because I don't want to feel overwhelmed. I need to take 4 years, 5 years ago, I would just go, 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 because I needed to do these things. But now I'm like, no, my family comes first, so I don't do it when my family is at home. I need to do, but it's easier said than done. But when you start, I think really when you start, and you can talk a little bit about boundaries, because boundaries, it's such a huge thing for me personally. I needed to learn how to say no and how not to feel guilty, because this weekend on Sunday, I was laying in front of the bed on the bank. Is it the bank or the lounge? The lounge. And I was just binge watching Netflix, and I can stage, I was like, "Oh, I need to send out emails. I need to do this." And I was like, "No, you're not. You've worked Monday till Saturday. You deserve one day off." And I was like, "Yes, I do." And I was like, "Play." Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about boundaries, because boundaries, limiting beliefs, listening to your body, all of these things is a whole. It's one thing. It's not mind and body, it's together. Your mental health and your physical health is hand to hand. Is so I know that I have split them in half. And then it was like, nah, it needs to be here.
I think we all do that from time to time, right? I think it's really easy to do that. And some of us have been raised that way even. So kind of shifting that belief is hard, but I do think boundaries are super important. And I think too, one thing I heard that was helpful for me, because I was very much like you, like, okay, I'm gonna do this, 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 and I would feel guilt or bad if I was resting. But we are human beings, not human doings. And so I think that was really eye-opening for me. Like, where does this idea come from that I have to go all of the time and do all of these things and be super productive? And where does that come from? And is that really how I want to show up? So I think remembering that you're a human being is super powerful. But I think with boundaries, like, it's okay to say no. That's a complete sentence. And you don't need to explain why. You can say no thank you, or the timing isn't right for me, or let me get back to you. Like, I think sometimes we don't know what to say in the moment, so there are three phrases you can use if you need to say no gracefully, or that you need to think about it and you don't know how to do that. So I think sometimes it's just being prepared to say no, and knowing that for every time you say no to something, you're able to say yes to something else.
That is so true. And just pause before you just say yes because you just want to fit in. Yes, I will do this. Yes, I will do this. I will show up. I will do that. No, because it is so exhausting to fit in. It is, when I was 5 years ago, it was exhausting. I was trying to say yes, 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 thinking that that would feed my soul. It would feed my soul and I would be feeling better. But at the end of the day, I was miserable. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. I felt like people was just abusing me all over again because I didn't have that, or saying just a simple phrase like no. It is like, it's the same as I am enough. Oh my word. That three words, it didn't come easy. Is there daily tips that we can give this audience today to go and start their healing journey if they are just starting out, or if they want to improve their have a relationship with food or a relationship with themselves? What takeaways would you give them?
Yeah, one thing that's coming to mind is that I recently had a situation where I was asked something and I knew that I wanted to say no, but I couldn't commit to my no. And so I kind of waited on it. And one thing that was helpful for me in that process was I want to say no, but why do I want to say no? And so I kind of thought through, like, if I say no, what will the end result be? And if I say yes, what will the end result be? And the end result, if I said yes, would be showing up resentful and bitter and angry and not having a good attitude. And I was like, is that how I want to show up? No. Okay, then that's why I'm saying no. And so I think if we can give ourselves permission to think ahead to how we want to show up and how we want to feel, that also will help us make the no easier, because who wants to show up in that place and who wants to show up that way?
And energy, you can feel energy through a computer scan. You can feel the energy if someone, that's what I really tried to say. I had to put this, I had to do it like that because I didn't want to show up tired or irritated or resentful to each one of you that's coming on the show. I need to take, it's respect for myself, but also for the people that I'm interviewing, because energy flows. We don't realize we attract energy, but we also give energy out. So what light are you gonna shine today?
Yes, I love that. Because you get to decide. I mean, ultimately, it's your choice how you're going to show up.
Definitely. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we um, wrap up?
I just want people to know that there is hope and you can heal and you can change and you can be free from what's held you back. You don't have to stay where you are because that's where you always been, or maybe that's your family of origin. Like that doesn't have to continue to be your story.
All right. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for being on Speak Up Queen. I am super excited um, to collaborate and to just share your story boldly. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I hope you have a great day too.